Hi, I'm David Sparks, and I run the MacSparky Labs, where we talk about the intersection of productivity and Apple technology. In this video, I'm going to take a look at Apple's advanced data protection, which is something I think everybody should consider turning on. Hey gang, Sparky here. I want to talk about Apple's advanced data protection. Apple first announced this about a year ago, and it was in beta, and it came out after the new year, but I've intentionally held off on covering it in the labs because I wanted to give it some time to settle down. Advanced data protection is a big step for you and your data, but it's also an important one because once you turn it on, you are effectively putting an end-to-end encryption on nearly all of the data that you're sending up to Apple. And that means Apple or nobody else can see your data. They also can't rescue it for you if you lose it. So if you do this, it's super important that you have backups of your key, and I'm going to walk you through the whole process. But at the same time, in an era where our data is increasingly under attack by third parties, I think Apple's advanced data protection is a good idea if you're willing to take it seriously. And I'm going to set it up for myself now. I'm going to show you the steps so you can go along with me and do it for yourself. But what you're getting with this is the ability to have your data syncing through Apple without them being able to actually read your data. And I think that's super important, not only for people that legally want to try and read your data, which I'm not sure they should be able to, but also people who illegally want to try and break into Apple and read your data, and they won't be able to either. So there's a lot of good things about it, but if you do it, you've got to make sure you protect the keys, because if you lose them, you literally lose all of your data at Apple, and that could mean a lot of things, So, in fact, what does ADP cover? Let's take a look at that. First, what's already encrypted by Apple? Actually, there's quite a bit. Wi-Fi and cellular credentials, home data, payment information, Siri, and iMessage and FaceTime content. So you've already got a lot encrypted. Indeed, the iMessage stuff gets Apple in hot water every once in a while when law enforcement tries to read an end-to-end encrypted message and Apple tells them they can't help them out. However, if you turn on advanced data protection, you're going to encrypt a bunch more, including your backups, message backups, iCloud Drive, notes, photos, reminders, Safari bookmarks, voice memos, and wallet passes. So this is the benefit of end-to-end or ADP encryption, is you're going to make all of this stuff unavailable to the bad guys. There are some things that will not be encrypted once you turn ADP on. Calendars, contacts, and iCloud Mail, and that's because those need to be unencrypted in order to work with the way the back end of calendars, contacts, and iCloud Mail works. This is just one of those things where Apple can't encrypt it and have it still work. The upsides of ADP are simple. You own your data, nobody else does. And the downside is that it doesn't work on unsupported devices. So if you've got older Apple devices that don't support ADP, you're not going to get it. It's a pain. Once you set it up, you've got to make sure all your devices continue to get the most recent updates so everything just works. Even your Apple TV needs to be updated so it can support ADP. There's some risk to this. If you lose your keys, you lose your data because you're the only one who has the keys to unlock it. Apple can't bail you out. I keep restating this because it's true, and you really can't get any bailout if you turn this on and you don't have a way to get your data. But at the same time, if you're in the MacSparky Labs, you probably have a pretty good system already to make sure you never lose those keys. So let me show you how to turn it on. Okay, let's turn this on. I'm in the Settings app. I'm going to go to the top, iCloud Settings, and then iCloud, and then scroll to the bottom, and you can see Advanced Data Protection. I've been putting off turning this on just for you guys. I'm going to go ahead and click it, and the first thing it's going to give me is a explanation of what it is. We've just gone through that. It also shows you the things that are going to be locked down as a result of advanced data protection. And you can see it's just what I told you. Backups, reminders, message backups, Safari bookmarks, iCloud Drive, Siri shortcuts, notes, voice memos, photos, and wallet passes. I'm going to click the button to turn it on. Now it's warning me that I'll be responsible for my own data recovery, as I've explained. Yes, we're going to do that, and I'm going to set up my data recovery. It's going to give me the option to have a data recovery contact. So I'm going to go ahead and make that my wife. Click Next. Now I'm going to go ahead and send her a message. And I've created her as a data recovery contact. And just to be safe, I'm going to also add my 2 children. So I'm going to add 2 more. I think when it comes to something like this, having multiple contacts is probably a good idea. And finally, you have the ability to turn on a recovery key. That's something that you can store. I'm going to go ahead and do that. Let's go ahead and turn that on. And so now it's given me my data recovery key. I blurred it so you can't see it. But I'm going to go ahead and put that into my 1Password vault. So what I've just done is opened 1Password on my Mac and saved the data recovery key into 1Password directly. And now I've got that saved elsewhere. So I've got myself covered now between the data recovery key and the backup people. Now it's going to ask me to type in the data recovery key just to confirm that I got it. So I'll go ahead and do that. So now my data recovery key is verified. You can see there that if you need, you can create a new one if it becomes unsecure somehow or you lose it. And then finally, I put in my passcode one more time, and advanced data protection is now turned on. Here I am over on my iPad, and you can see that advanced data protection is now reflected as turned on, even though I didn't do anything there. So it's now turned on throughout all of my devices. One of the keys of this is to make sure that you have current devices running current software. So, should you bother to go through these steps? I think you probably should. I just think it's a good idea to protect your own data if you can. The way Apple sets this up, so long as you capture your data recovery key, so long as you've got a few people you can trust to give you a recovery key if you ever lose it, I think you should be fine. But this does come with risks. Apple can no longer bail you out. Every time this topic gets up, I get accused of being a little bit paranoid, but I like the idea of owning my data, and I don't like the idea of other people being able to snoop through it if they want. And this isn't because I've got a bunch of incriminating data in it. In fact, now that I'm no longer a lawyer, my data is downright boring. But I still like the idea of owning it, and I'm glad that Apple made this available. And if you have any interest in it, you can see it's not that difficult to turn on, and it does give you an extra layer of protection. I hope you enjoyed that little peek into the MacSparky Labs. If you'd like to join us, head over to MacSparky.com/join.